Everybody ready? I guess we'll go back into the workshop so you guys can give your presentation.
All right. Thank you, Mayor, members of the council.
So I'm sorry, before I let Jack go, I just want to make sure you all know, so that there's interview questions in your packet. They were given to the two firms ahead of time, so their presentations will address those questions. Please use them as any kind of guidance that you might need for scoring. And then once they're through with their presentation, obviously council can ask any follow-up questions. Thanks.
I guess first I'd like to introduce, I have with me Kara Guerin and Chad Isaacson. You probably all know Chad, but Kara kind of works on the other side of town, but she's my partner in crime, so. But anyway, good evening. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present Focus Engineering here to you tonight. I'm also grateful that I've been able to be the Lake Elmo City Engineer since 2007. And Focus in general, we founded in 2011, Kara and I started Focus Engineering, and we've been the City Engineering Department for Lake Elmo since 2011. So we're also very grateful for that. We're here tonight to basically present to you Focus Engineering and to be committed and ready to serve you for the next 5 years. So Kara, Chad, and I had a great pride in being able to present Focus Engineering, quite frankly, because we came up with a service model that we thought was a great idea. We formed a niche service model that, in my opinion, is hands down a better way forward for Lake Elmo. I've been with you for the past 16 years, bringing your city from a population of about 7,500 to about 13,500. Chad's been with you for the past 11 years. Both of us have been committed to Lake Elmo for about 100% time. We work more than full-time for you in Lake Elmo only. Together, we provide you the leadership team with a very high level of experience and expertise in the city engineering services and for municipal infrastructure. And we're committed to a rigorous project management approach to our services. We know Lake Elmo's infrastructure better than anybody. More importantly, it's not just what has been built in the past, the pipes we put in the ground, the streets that we've built, but we know we've planned your infrastructure through the year 2040. We know what needs to be built, we know when it needs to be built, and we also know the flexibilities that are built into the system so that we can do it different ways depending on how the development of community approaches you. We are tireless advocates working to ensure that the city's infrastructure is planned, designed, and constructed to your city standards, and it will be here for decades to come. We pride ourselves on the success of having completed a very long list of capital improvement projects. We perform those projects on time and on budget, regardless of the workloads. We're supported by a very robust pool of consulting professionals. Like the Woodbury model, like the Cottage Grove model, we serve like your in-house engineering team, and we have a very robust consultant pool that's ready to address your every need. Since 2011, we've issued over 100 task orders to our partner firms, assigning the best industry experts, aligning them with the project needs for each project. So with every one of these consultants up in this business model, they have a contract with the city of Lake Elmo for general services. And we are able to go to them for whatever the need of the day is. SEH has done 7 phases of your Old Village CIP, very complex sewer, water, street projects. They're your water system modeling engineer. They did your last 2 water towers, and now they're working on some trunk water main work. We've used SRF as the expert along the Trunk Highway 36 corridor, together with Washington County, and we had them do your South Frontage Road study. KLJ, we see as your Hudson Boulevard expert. They did the design standards there. We've gone to them each time a developer is going to build a piece of Hudson Boulevard and they do the design review. And now we're using them to do your 2024 Hudson Boulevard project next year. Bolton and Mink is in your pool. We see them as your sanitary sewer lift station designer. They've been doing many of the lift stations. We also use them on an annual basis for your routine residential street projects. We used VAR engineering when you needed stormwater irrigation reuse standards. And most recently, we brought on Stantec to address your water system studies and PFAS engineering investigations. They're a global leader with PFAS. More importantly, they've been doing the treatment plants, both temporary and permanent in Cottage Grove. So they've been on the ground here and they have that experience to bring us. The consultant pool model gives us access to every expert that we may need and the flexibility to follow experts from firm to firm. And what I mean by that, this is a very important advantage. If we hire a firm because the expert is there and he leaves and goes to the other firm, we have the choice to stay with that firm or we have the choice to follow that expert. That's an advantage of our model. So that's kind of the introduction to our service model, and I'll kind of move on to beginning to address your interview questions. In reviewing these questions, we've looked at these categories as what were the general themes that we'll try to cover here. We have, starting with the general engineering examples. So I'm gonna go through a couple of examples that we've done in Lake Elmo here, and then hopefully we'll be able to address the rest of the questions rather quickly. The first example I wanna share with you is, hopefully this shows up in your screen as well. But what you're looking at in the area of yellow is the Savona 1st through 4th editions. That was when your growth started in 2013. That was when it all started. Over to the lower left-hand corner, you see solid green and blue lines, and that's the Eagle Point Business Park. At the time in 2013, that was the only place you had sewer and water infrastructure. The thought was the growth was going to start along the line, contiguous, and it would just connect to your sewer and water, and it would grow to the east toward Keats, or it would grow north toward County Road 10. That's not what happened. Lennar came in, they wanted the property over by Keats, and they said, we want to start at Keats and we want to grow to the west. So we got 13 property owners together, we got 3 developers together, we had 5 or 6 meetings in your council chambers of all those stakeholders, and we came up with a plan. And that was my plan, and the plan was to have the city lead the project and to bring the sewer and water, those are the dashed green, or dashed orange and blue lines going across Hudson Boulevard. The idea was to bring the sewer and water over to that point at Keats Avenue to let the development start there. We would ask for petitions from all the property owners to pay for the infrastructure, and then the developer could start there, but the city would lead the project. They liked the plan. They had one issue with it, and they thought it was gonna take too long. The city processes for assessments, the city processes for getting contractors on board and procurement are lengthy, and so they were afraid we would take too long. At the end of the day in this project, we received petitions in April of 2013. We delivered our project in December of 13, and it was ready. Savona was not ready until June of 2014. We beat them by 6 months. So that was kind of the story. We were able to do it through seasoned senior leadership and expertise on your processes of the city. We were able to access the consulting pool. We accessed Bolton and Mink to do the sewer and water utilities. They built the sewer and water utilities. We also at the same time went to SRF and we had them come up with design standards for Fifth Street and do the Fifth Street alignment that was weaved through there. So we were able to go to different experts, access them, and we were able to deliver this project well in advance of the schedule for the developers. The next example was just about 18 months later. The same thing happened in your old village. So this is the old village area, and at the bottom of the page, at the end of the green line, is where your lift station was. We had just finished putting a lift station there, and that's as far as your sewer was. There was no sewer in the village. Where did the developers want to start? Wildflower Village Preserve, nowhere near where the sewer was. So same thing happened. They came to us and we developed the plan. And the city was going to build 39th Street, rebuild that street and put sewer in 39th Street. And the developers were gonna build through the farm fields to get up there. Again, we got all the stakeholders, all those property owners in gray with numbers were going to be somehow assessed. All the property owners and current existing businesses along 39th Street were gonna be assessed. So we had massive stakeholders of current businesses, developers, property owners. Again, the concern was the city was gonna take too long. And once again, we went forward with this project. Our pipe was in the ground, our streets were paved, and our assessments were done. And the developer handed back to us the piece north of the track because they didn't want to deal with the railroad. So we even put that piece in and went south of the railroad. Our pipe was in the ground and ready for operation before the developer put a single stick of pipe in the ground. So we were again about 6 to 8 months ahead of them. Again, it was because of our ability to respond and to beef up through our consultant pool when we needed to. And then the last thing I'll share with you real quick is our Lake Elmo Capital Improvement Plan. What I've listed here is the years 2018 to 2028. So I went back to 2018, 2019 because we had kind of been, these are your capital infrastructure projects that you give to the engineering department. So it doesn't include your fire trucks and dump trucks and things like that. And what you're looking at is about a 5 million you were humming along as your normal CIP project. And then right away in 2020, you doubled real quick. You went to 3X in 2021 and 5X in 2022. Those are your getting water main, your grants and getting water main out to these neighborhoods. So we were able to ramp up to 5 times your capital improvement plans that we've been managing and handling. And we were able to deliver those projects on time. We were able to stagger the meetings, stagger the public hearings for the benefit of the council because there's a funnel that comes up top when you're doing this much work. As you look forward, you're gonna see now another little bump come. And what I put in there is of the blue numbers, embedded in there is the numbers that are in orange. And those are your CIP numbers related to new wells, water treatment. These are your PFAS-related projects that we are embarking on today. So we have another bump that we're going to attack in this next 5 years, and a lot of it is your water. So with those examples, I hope to portray that we had a lot of areas of success. We were able to deliver projects on time and on budget. With our consultant pool, we were able to ramp up to 5X the workloads very quickly. Our team was responsive to an endless supply of phone calls, emails from residents, city council, staff, all the stakeholders. As you tear up more and more streets, those emails grow quickly. We're able to maintain the quality of infrastructure without compromise, meeting the city design standards, and the services were cost effective because they were well planned and managed. Were there areas for improvement? Absolutely. First of all, I'll just say there's lots of areas of, we work in a lot of details, so there's lots of detailed areas of improvements. We work on a basis of constant and continuous improvement, and we have systems where we're constantly trying to capture those little things and incrementally improve. But in the big picture, there's also things that I think I would have done differently. One, I would have just been more assertive in presenting the access and flexibility of our consulting pool to other department heads and council on a regular basis. Over these years, we've gotten busy, and we've had a lot of staff turnover, and we've had a lot of council change. And I was remiss in probably not being more forthright in making sure everyone had access to this and understood the benefits of what we were operating under. Secondly, I would have accessed the consultant pool myself to better support the general engineering and development review services. It's our intention going forward, if you were to renew us for the next 5 years, that we're going to immediately go to our consultant friends and we're going to build a development review team so that we have a planning development team behind us, which will, and if you remember, that's what I was meeting with you folks with a little bit about to free up my time to work with the water system, because that's where your primary needs are going to be. You had a question about how do you stay organized in a fast-paced environment and stay organized and stay successful. I think I demonstrated what we're doing to do that. It's why we think the focus model is right for you. We have experienced leadership, we have a systematic approach to project management, and we have a robust consulting pool. How do we work with city staff, commission, councils, stakeholders? All of it's partnerships. We need to partner with all of them. It's all about partnerships, and we need to remain as a trusted advisor to the city council and the commissions. We need to be seen as your expert and trusted with our advice. Sorry, I hit the wrong key. With city departments, we need to also build those bridges and build those departments. Again, with turnover, it's been difficult, but we need to do a better job of not working in silos, but working as a team and developing strategies together as we problem solve. Same thing with working with a partnership with your stakeholders, whether it's developers, whether it's business owners, whether it's the county, whether it's the state, or Valley Branch Watershed District. And lastly, you had a question about grant funding. As your city engineer, I have successfully demonstrated the PFAS-related damages that's occurred in the city to the Attorney General, to all kinds of attorneys, to grant agencies. I've been instrumental in preparing grant applications in support of obtaining over $32 million in grant funding toward water system projects. A few years back, I was able to secure an $80,000 grant that funded the South Frontage Road study. That was through MnDOT. In terms of transportation funding in general, that funding's typically wired toward higher level roads, and all of the higher level roads in Lake Elmo are county and state owned. So the way we do that is with our partnerships, and we've been doing that. There was the county leads a lot of that, and they look to us for support. It's not necessarily a grant, but then the other things that we're able to do for you is, I was instrumental in leading the city process for getting Fifth Street constructed all the way from Inwood to Keats without the city paying for that. And that was based on just leading that process, working with every single developer, every single landowner, because none of them wanted to do it. So every piece we went across, and continuing to get that built for the city. It's not really a grant, but it's another way of getting infrastructure built for the city. And then, in just general, if there's grant funding for other areas that the city's looking for, we have this robust consulting pool. Every one of those firms have experts. If we do a better job of communicating what's needed, what we're looking for, we can access those resources. So focus, in our opinion, is the right service model for Lake Elmo. PFAS is the biggest issue facing you over the next 5 years. And it's these ingredients of our model that we think are needed. It's precisely what's needed to get you through all of this. You've made a 16-year investment in me and my team. I'm committed to seeing you through the latest challenges with only the best interests of the community at heart and every decision and recommendation I provide. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to answering any questions.
Thank you. Questions? So, in knowing focus that I do, the way that I do, and understanding that you've lost a very critical employee recently, right? And was probably one of your, I mean, I'm looking at 3 of them, I'd have to say he was probably number 4, right? Or
Yep.
in that top 4, right?
Yep.
And knowing that you guys also service assortment of other, Denmark Township, West Lakewood, and then you've got Victorian over there. How is that loss gonna impact you? Are you looking to reinforce that? Because I'm sure there's some workload sharing. Hey, I mean, that's how it works in my business. I'm pretty sure it works that way in yours. I need some help with this. Can you do a review? I got these other 18 things to take care of. So can you guys just make me feel comfortable with that?
Absolutely. First of all, we did start this with the workload share going back to 2011, but very quickly we did start to create separate teams. And Kara's got a couple people working for her, and Victoria, that she's been managing those workloads. And we, quite frankly, Lake Elmo's kept Chad and I busy 100% here. And also Mike is here and he's 100% here. Ryan, in the early years, was in Lake Elmo, and then he took on the Hastings account and basically hasn't been in Lake Elmo ever since. We did, losing Ryan isn't going to impact that, other than we were looking, as I met with each of you, we were looking at getting more resources over here. We wanted to bring Ryan back. So we introduced you all to Ryan to come back and provide some support services. Without that, we're not losing anything because he wasn't providing anything before. But that's where the strategy is to go back to our consulting pool and to firm it up there. Our hiring philosophy from the start is we only hire people if they're the right people. We don't just go out and hire someone. So if someone comes along that wants to work for us, that's the right fit, we would hire them and we would have work for them. If they don't, we just use more consultants. We do that with field staff as well. When we have field staff available, we can use them. When we don't, we just call up one of the firms and they send someone over.
All right, thank you. I'll ask another one. Jack, previously you and I had a conversation, and sometimes it's a factor of the changeover in council, and maybe there's some reluctance on some new or innovative ways of doing things or adding scope. Is that, you know, when I think of consultant, I think of a consultant bringing, it's more than just taking care of the project, right? But saying, I think your city could benefit by doing this down the road. Can we explore that a little bit? Can you talk, do you remember having that little conversation at all? It was probably a little over a year ago. Just, are there things that we're not doing in Lake Elmo that we could be doing, if not for, you know, maybe it hasn't been received so well previously, or?
I think in the early days, we did a lot more of that when we were operating more in a normal work zone. I think if you go back, you know, 2019, we saw such a spike in workload. I think there was, you know, it's hard to take a step back at that point and start to think, oh, what else can we drum up?
Yeah. Well, or what, you know, what systems can we put in place to make it more efficient? What's
Right.
gonna be better for our water system? I mean, just like the, you know, putting together the pavement management
Yep,
plan for the city to make sure that, you know, that's good for the long haul, and that the city has something moving forward that it can refer to and how it's gonna maintain
right.
and take care of its infrastructure.
And so one of the things that I think that we need to get back to is more staff meetings together where we're talking about what each other's working on. Right now, we get together for development review meetings, but I think if we talk about more holistically what's going on in the city and what things we're looking at, then there might be an opportunity to then, whether we take the lead or whether we just help and say, well, we know this firm over here that does some of that stuff.
Okay.
Let's go talk to them.
Okay. Councilmember McGinn.
Jack, you had mentioned, and when we spoke with you individually, you had mentioned that you had a desire to be the point person, if you will, for Lake Elmo water issues. Can you speak to that in lieu of now not having Ryan there? Can you speak to how you would accomplish that, or what you feel the priorities are for the city?
Yeah, the priorities for the city haven't changed. It's gonna be your water system, and I think I need to be the lead on your water system. I think in combination of bringing in Stantec, we also have SEH working on components of your water system, doing the modeling. You still need someone who's very familiar with the city and the city's past, leading those efforts. Those experts can bring you good technical expertise, but you need someone to assemble that together, and that's gonna be me. In order to relieve some of my general duties, that's where I'll be tapping into the consultant pool to be taking on some other components of the general services. I would have had Ryan doing that had Ryan been with us. Now I'll just go look to the consultant pool to bring someone in to do that.
Just one last question.
Yep.
Could you speak to, you've talked about the advantages of your company's focus, if you will. And if we were to go with a company that is a larger company that may have some of those experts there, can you talk to me about what you feel is the pros and cons of each?
Yeah, I've been there. I worked for one of those firms, and it was, when I worked for, I call it a one-stop shop, and they call it a one-stop shop in their marketing speak. They come and they say, we have everything. We have everything you need, you only have to use us. And they do. They have vast resources. They have a lot to offer. But it also comes with limitations that you're only using them. And no firm is the best at everything. There's firms that, and so when I worked with one of those firms, I felt very good about coming to Lake Elmo when I was representing TKDA and saying, we'll do this project for you and we'll do a great job. And then you'd have a different project for me, and and all of a sudden, our expert in that would leave to another firm, and we didn't have somebody. And I would still have to try to cobble it together within my firm to provide that service. And what I wanted to be able to do is I wanted to be able to say, I want to use that guy even though he's working for the other firm. And the firm doesn't really let you do that. So I think this is a way that you can, beef up resources, and this is a way that you can have the different experts wherever they are. We've had 2 water projects in the past 5 years, that the project manager left midway through the project. Keep in mind, infrastructure projects last 2-3 years. They last over a time. So you hire somebody and they leave on you. And sometimes you want to follow that person. Well, if you're with one firm, you can't do that. You're kind of stuck. So that's the flexibility we give. We're trying to emulate what Woodbury has, what Cottage Grove has. We're trying to emulate that we're the in-house team for you, and then we're trying to keep this robust pool to be this maximum flexibility for you. When we had to ramp up to the 25 million, we gave different projects to different firms. And then and usually our relationships are each firm kind of has one team we're really comfortable with. What we did when we needed to ramp up is we went in and we created 2 and 3 teams within those firms, so that they would have separate teams working on separate projects. So it was that kind of ability to do that. And some of them turned us away because, well, we can give you 1 or we can give you 2, we can't give you 3. We don't have those resources right now. But between the multiple firms, we were able to put it together pretty quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
As I am looking at both firms here and speaking to some developers in that, there were some indications that there was some frustration in some of the amount of time or the detail-orientedness of your firm. Could you speak to that, or how do you view that?
That kind of topic has come up over the years. It comes up a lot. It comes up in other cities, and when we talk to other city engineers, we hear other city engineers talk about the same thing. So it's hard to respond to. What I always want to do is, I'd like to be part of those conversations. Like I said, we're about constant and continuous improvement, but it's really difficult to respond to a high-level cloud that just says, takes too long, or you're too detailed. Okay, well, what piece of it am I being too detailed in? Because the biggest complaint we have of the developers, engineers that they hire, is they're not detailed at all. They'll give you a blank piece of paper and say, we're ready to go to construction, if you let them. So there's a balance there, and you have to find that. And so it's about, again, you need to be at the table, you need to be part of these conversations, you need to work through these things with the development community directly, and you need to understand very carefully what their complaints are, and then you can respond to them. And yeah, there are things you can probably do, but again, it's hard to respond to that high-level cast of cloud that
Right.
I don't know what the issue is.
And so, but that seemed like it was one of your development areas in doing review processes and
Yeah.
earlier in the slides, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Councilmember Hearn.
Just maybe to make sure we keep this on track here, this might be a better question for a little bit. I got a question more directed to staff. Should I save that for after
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'll wait.
Do you guys wanna say anything? Chad's usually a guy
You've
of
been,
many
you've been doing
words.
this, Chad.
Chad's usually talks a lot. All right. I know, that's why I didn't, that's
You're
why I
gonna
didn't-
be here a long time if you let her stand.
That's why I didn't ask you. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for waiting,
Yeah,
yeah.
We knew when we saw the agenda.
right? Yeah, this isn't gonna be on time.
Thank you.
Thank you. I did.
I thought that's what you did.
I did.
When it
I thought I
wasn't
just
there?
left it in my car. Not sure I dropped it or something.
Do you have a watch? Do you have an Apple Watch that you can?
Not here, see if you hear it right on this. You are.
I think I got it on silent.
That's usually,
Might be
that's
SOL.
usually my case.
Oh, man.
Pepsi, huh? Not Coke?
I cannot do coke
Business
unless
voice
it's still
over
in the
IP.
toilet.
Really?
Make sure room's alive.
I just, it feels like you just let air down my teeth, as opposed to just regular cancer.
Did you bring somebody from every state you guys work in, or what? No.
Is that zero? Oh, it is. Diet. So thanks for coming and thank you for waiting. We had some lengthy discussion previously.
No big deal.
So we'll let you get started.
All right. Mayor, city council, city staff, thanks for having us here tonight. It's our pleasure to be here and get you excited about what the partnership with the city of Lake Elmo and Bolton Mink can be moving forward. I'm Ryan Goodman, principal engineer with Bolton Mink. I will ensure that our team has the resources and support that's necessary from day one. Your RP outlined some very important criteria. I hope our proposal has addressed all that stuff that you guys are looking for and reinforce that tonight with our presentation. Bolton Mink has the expertise, comprehensive services, cost-effective solutions, funding success, and the capacity. More importantly, though, we have strategically assembled an engineering team that we feel best fits the city's needs today and in the future moving forward. Go ahead, Jake.
Mayor, members of the council, staff. You guys hear me okay?
Yes.
I've been in your council chambers for a few months now, so I'm honored to finally be able to speak in front of you. My name's Jake Guzik. I'm proposed as your city engineer. I've worked in municipal engineering since the beginning of my career. I was an intern at City of Bloomington. Since day one at Bolton and Mink, I've worked side by side with Ryan Goodman. We're in cities like city engineers in Forest Lake, Scandia, Taylor's Falls, Chisago City. We're also consultant engineers in Woodbury, Oakdale, Cottage Grove. And while we're in all these different cities, including Lake Elmo, one thing we know is that Lake Elmo is unique. We're not here to bring solutions from other cities and just plop them down in yours. We listen to the community, we listen to the council, we listen to staff, and we come forward with sustainable solutions that meet your vision for the city of Lake Elmo, not our vision. Just in the Twin Cities alone, we have over 300 professional staff. There's over 160 registered engineers in the Twin Cities, so last I counted, there was about 40 chairs in here, so we could fill this room up 4 times over with just the amount of engineers that I have at my disposal and your disposal. So what that means, I wanted to bring up real quick too, with all the technical experts that we have, as part of our general engineering fee, we're including a technical expert to accompany me on certain meetings, like if you have Lake Elmo 36 coordination with MnDOT or Washington County. I'll bring along a transportation engineer with me, and that'll be included in the retainer fee that we have with the city. So as we meet in specialized areas, I'll have specialized experts, many of whom are with me here tonight, and I would let some of them speak, but we'll probably be here for all night if I let them get going on water reuse or PFAS, and we'll touch those subjects, and if you have questions after, please let us know. You know, because of the size of the team that I have behind me, you know, we're able to reduce risk for the city. You know, we're able to brainstorm, you know, issues, potential problems. You know, we routinely have emails that are spread across all of our project managers and say, hey, how are you guys doing seal coats in Lake Elmo? We're doing this in Woodbury. And so we're always collaborating and looking out for the best interests of the communities that we work in. With that, I'm gonna let Brian Bachmeyer, he's proposed as your assistant city engineer. He was the city engineer and public works director for the city of Oakdale since 1989. He's a senior level manager in our office that I rely on for information. And he's gonna kind of tackle question number 1 for you.
Thank you, Jake. Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. As Jake mentioned, we want to talk a little bit about your first question, which deals with, you know, kind of describe your experience with the city and projects you've worked on. And unfortunately, I haven't had the privilege of working on projects in your community because for the last 2 years I've been with Bolton & Mink, but for the 33 years prior to that, I was with the city of Oakdale. But during that 33 years, I did have many opportunities to work with your administration on joint projects that were mutually beneficial to both communities. And going back to the early 1990s, we provided drinking water to the Lake Jane area when there was some contamination by the landfill up there. We also provided, the city of Oakdale provided water and sewer down in the southwest portion of your community as you were starting to develop. And then more recently along Olson Lake Trail, joint projects to provide sewer service to some of the residential properties along Olson Lake. And then also now the 180 acres, we have a joint agreement. Hopefully the experience of working with the team that I was on at that time with the city of Oakdale, you found that our negotiations were transparent and hopefully the agreements were fair when they were completed. The other thing I think that is unique is that since I have been here for 33 years, I'm very familiar with all the partners in the area. I'm familiar with the issues. I'm familiar with, you know, the players and the partners that we have with the watershed districts, the county, MnDOT, all the people that we have to work with to get our projects done. We can hit the ground running and work with those groups. The other thing that is unique to the Oakdale team that we have, Todd Hubner and Megan is with us and Seth Peterson. They're all water experts that have designed PFAS treatment facilities. Todd and I together have 40 years of experience operating treatment plants. And so we can bring that to you. We can help you establish standard operating procedures for running the treatment plant and also help you with the coordination on changing out the carbon in the media that's going to go along with that to minimize the downtime you're going to have and the impacts to your supply to your community.
So I'm going to touch on our familiarity with Lake Elmo. I'm actually a former resident of Lake Elmo. I grew up in the Lake Elmo Heights neighborhood over off Inwood and Stillwater Boulevard there, or 26th Street, closer off of Inwood. In fact, it was one of the first communities that had water main extended to it because of the PFAS issue. I was talking with my stepdad. He still has the pump from the well that they sealed back then. He uses it up in Two Harbors now, but we've been a trusted engineer for the city of Lake Elmo for over 10 years. We've completed over 24 projects. Everything from street and utilities to your well number 5 and pump house and all the water main extensions that go along with that. We've been a part of your lift station projects, sanitary sewer. Anna Springer's here tonight. She's the project manager for your Parks Master Plan. Nathan, you've gotten to know over the a year or so here, has brought excellent service from a planning perspective, and we want to bring that same level of expertise and service to your city engineering. Excuse me. In terms of ways that we stay organized, whether it's using, the latest and greatest project management software, a lot of smaller projects are suffice to use a spreadsheet. But, we have advanced, digital document libraries that go beyond just searching your Windows Explorer. We have GIS mapping. As part of our proposal, we are gifting the city the deployment of a new GIS online map that'll be able to be used across all your departments. I believe right now, your Public Works is using Beehive, is that correct? And then planning has ArcGIS, and while they're both useful in their own sense, having a unified map that all staff and including members of the council can look at, when you're going through planning reviews and development reviews, it's vital to know where your future land use is in relation to your water main, your sanitary sewer. And right now, the way it's set up, you're kind of flipping through different PDFs or different maps, and you don't know exactly where things overlay onto each other. So that with the GIS map that we're proposing, all that comes into one, and there's capabilities on top of that. Maybe you want a public-facing map that shows your future land use. I empathize with the people who drive by the Royal Golf Club and see trees getting knocked down, and they think, oh my God, Lake Elmo's turned into a parking lot. The more ways we can put the information, what's in your comprehensive plan, what projects are planning for the city, I think helps your residents be more informed and staff all get on the same page. Another thing that the GIS mapping and some of the tools that we use do is make sure that that institutional knowledge stays with the city. I never want to be your engineer just because I'm the only one who knows where to extend the sanitary sewer or the water main or where the curb stops are hidden. We want to make sure that that institutional knowledge stays with the city. So as staff changes, as new people come in, we want to make sure that people can get caught up quickly. In terms of question number 3, how our relationship with staff and council, we report directly to, we see ourselves as an extension of staff. So we would report to Administrator Hant. As part of the transition plan that we envisioned, a lot of it goes into building trust first and foremost, but also what's the preferred method of communication between staff, between council members. We'll adapt to the means and methods that you guys wish. As part of our retainer, we're also not charging the city until April 2024. Part of that is we want to take the time to learn the city, and we don't want to give the impression that the city's paying for us to catch up on any issues of regarding to developments or standards. I'm available 24/7. I'll be 100% dedicated to the city of Lake Elmo. Both my work and personal phone number go to the same phone. Just kind of an example, the other day, the mayor of Taylor's Falls called me. They had some failing septic tanks in the neighborhood. I responded right away. We set up a meeting a couple days later. The day before, I set up a meeting with my funding specialist, and we were on the phone with the MPCA the very next day discussing options for the city of Taylor's Falls and how they can fund a sewer extension project, or maybe they just need to fix the septic tanks. So we have the technical experts and the fund. I'll get to the funding specialist in more in depth later, but just know that I respond quickly, and I can get a hold of the experts that we have behind me quickly as well. I live in Woodbury. Our office is right across the street from Lake Elmo Public Works. So at a moment's notice, I can show up. It's a lot easier to come to the city center here than to drive up to Taylor's Falls on short notice. As far as question, I'll leave it to Brian here to kind of tackle part of question number 4.
Thank you, Jake. I know the first part of your question was, how do you deal with the public? And I would say after 33 years, I've learned that the first part is just to listen. Listen to what the people have to say, be an active listener, and repeat back what they told you so that you can make sure that you understood clearly what they are expressing to you. And then to let them know what you can do and how you can, what can be done, who you're gonna have to contact, and then get back to them on a regular basis to make sure you followed up on the matter. So we want to show respect by being responsible and by being responsive. In working with developers and contractors, you know, we know we're your representative, and it's our role to protect your interests in dealing those negotiations with the developers and contractors. But we also encourage everyone to strive for success. Successful projects are a positive reflection on everybody. We also understand these are long-term relationships. Chances are, we're gonna be working with these developers or contractors again, and if we wanna have competitive bids, you know, we all have to succeed in the projects that we're constructing and building. We also understand the construction standards are developed to make sure that we have durable projects, resilient projects, and are keeping an eye on the future maintenance so that that can be managed and maintained in the future. We also do our part to keep projects on schedule. We make sure that the permits are issued in a timely fashion, that we're reviewing and responding to requests for information from the contractors and reviewing the shop drawings. We don't want to be the reason the project is falling behind. And as Jake has indicated, you know, we'll ramp up our teams as necessary to make sure we can deliver the projects in a timely fashion if it's design or construction management.
Just to add to that, I wanted to touch on our community involvement. So as engineers in your community, we don't want to just disappear between projects. We're here to be an active member. So we're proud to be a sponsor of the Lions Park Ball Field Improvement Fund, or Light Up Lake Elmo. I know my wife's looking forward to that one. You know, we've gone to Big Buck Bingo for Lake Elmo Rotary. It's another fun fundraiser. One of the events close to my heart in Forest Lake, we jump into the lake every year. So we raise money for the Forest Lake Education Foundation and Forest Lake Rotary. And I think we're up to over $40,000, more or less, that our team, so we take about 15 to 20 employees and their family members, and we jump into the lake. My son did it last year. So we're proud to work in a city like Elmo, and we look forward to finding opportunities to get involved in the community. To touch on our grant funding, so $1.1 billion is the amount of money that we've at least have secured for our clients over the past 10 years. It doesn't mean we're gonna find $1.1 billion for you right away, but we'll do our best to find grant opportunities and plan for future improvements, knowing that it could be a grant eligible project. Forest Lake, so Ryan notified me that I'm actually off by $10 million on the Forest Lake. While over the past 10 years, we have secured over $4 million. Just this year, as part of the bonding bill, we're over $10 million that we secured for Forest Lake in just the 1 year. We have the full-time staff that not only looks for grants that are available, so they're digging through the policies and the legislation that comes forward. They also have professional writers and proposal specialists that know what these grants are looking for, how to best position the city in a way that can win some of these competitive grants. And at the same time, we have the staff and the expertise to guide you through the construction and the finalization. You know, we don't wanna, oftentimes the city pays the project costs up front and we request reimbursement afterwards, and we wanna make sure you're not missing a concrete test or something that could hold up the funding for the city. So we have the experts to guide you through every step of that process in the event that you do get a grant. Another recent grant that we got for Chisago City was a local trail connection grant. And just last year, Lake Elmo had some trail connections, and you have a regional park in the center of the city. A lot of those local trail connection grants love connecting zones into regional parks. And that's exactly what we did in Chisago City. So there's opportunities that we look for, especially now is a good time during your Parks Master Plan, or in a few years when you start updating your comprehensive plan, or even your capital improvement plan. The grant, people that award, the grant committees that are scoring your award, your grant applications, look for planning. They just don't want a city to come in and say, oh, look, there's some funds, maybe we'll do this project. They're looking for concrete planning steps to award. So with that, I think we're pushing the time here. I did want to end with one quick thing. I found a book in downtown Lake Elmo the other day called Memories of Lake Elmo. There was a quote in it that I really liked. You can actually find this quote, there's a plaque in front of Sunfish Lake Park that commemorates the founding of the Oakdale Township at the time. So it's about 100 years before the city of Lake Elmo became the village of Lake Elmo and then city of Lake Elmo. And it says this: local self-government is the foundation of freedom, securing the blessing of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. I think that it speaks to the importance of the decisions that the council makes. And as a city engineer, we're proud to be part of that in a small way. And we look forward to developing sustainable solutions for not only your community's needs today, but also future generations.
All right, in closing, I just want to point out some things that this isn't just another RFP Bolton and Mink responded to. We've been tracking and watching this. A little sad it didn't come out last year, gave us a whole nother year to prepare. Even prior way to that, we were preparing to the point we moved our office last time we got to have this opportunity to get closer to you guys. We're 4 miles from your city hall, 1 mile from your public works. We built and grown the staff here that can serve you guys on a whim of a phone call, a text message, whatever it might be. And the team that we built and put together for this community is specialized of all the issues that we know about, other issues cities deal with that you're probably gonna have to face moving forward, so we can offer that flexibility to you guys. So that way it makes things easier for your own staff to do the things that they need to do, and we'll take care of the things that have become the difficult, known new things to you guys, but things that we're dealing with all around the state. And I just wanna really say a lot about Jake. I've worked with him over 10 years. He's worked with me, under me. I've watched him do his thing on his own. And everywhere he works, he always builds that bond with whoever he's working with, whether it's public works, city councils, city administrator. And they always get something achieved and are successful what they're doing. And I know there's not another person that's gonna bring the energy and the enthusiasm that you're gonna need moving forward as things get more difficult and busier than a guy like Jake can provide for you. So with that, I know if the city of Lake Elmo hires Bolton and Mink for engineering services, we're gonna achieve great things together, so we just wanna thank you for your considerations. Real people, real solutions.
Thank you. You have questions for Bolton and Mink? I can throw one out there. Mr. Bachmeyer, you talked about similarities between Oakdale and Lake Elmo. Could you maybe just highlight some of the similarities and then also some of the differences that you notice?
Well, I would say in similar respects, dealing with the White Bear Lake water issue and also the PFAS issue, you know, we've been kind of parallel tracks following that and being involved with a lot of the same committees, dealing with that, the litigation. So certainly those are the similar things that we have. I will say that when, 33 years ago when I started, certainly Lake Elmo had a different philosophy than Oakdale. It was pretty much an adversarial relationship. There was a lot of conflict between the two communities, but I would say that's changed over the years, and I think, you know, some of the things that are going on in Lake Elmo now are similar to what's happened in Oakdale in the past, so there's an appreciation for that. But I also think the projects that we did together, be it with the county, or be it just between the two cities, providing water and sewer service to the residents, to the people we serve, regardless of city limits. I think we're here to serve the public, and we want to do that the best way we can, and if we can do that together, that's all the better. So, that's how I would answer that.
I had a question on the grant writers. I know sometimes grant writing can be fairly detailed and intense. Is that part of the retainer? Is that something that Bolden Mank or Jake would bring to the council and say, we're aware of this grant? Here's the upside, here's the downstroke on trying to get that accomplished, just to make us aware of the risk associated with going after that grant.
Yeah, as part of the retainer, the discovery of the grant, you know, our full-time staff that's looking into the opportunities, that is within the retainer. Once a grant is identified and we want to come together with a scope and fee to actually write the proposal or the grant application.
Great, okay.
But also as part of the retainer, the general engineering, we're planning ahead. You know, we talk with our grant writers and make sure that we're putting the city in a good spot to be able to be eligible for a lot of that stuff.
Right, okay.
I would just add a couple of things on that. We're not out to try to make money on our grant writing. So a lot of times, there are some times we do it pro bono for you guys, but then there's times we'll do it at cost, right? But then there's a handful of emails that are constantly coming from our grants group, funding group to us that might apply to fire or something with Public Works and going from gasoline to electric. And we fire that off to all the directors and positions and then copy the administrator on them, so that it gives you that opportunity to chase some of those simple, easy little things too that are simply just a few check marks and send it off and boom, you might get some money for some fire or public works equipment that doesn't take a lot of time, but because all these are come in contact